stand on this rocky hill 25 centuries ago, and below you, a small city is quietly preparing to change the ancient world forever now. This is Athens, standing at the very dawn of its golden age, when marble dreams began slowly rising from the smoking ashes of endless war. A city of thinkers, warriors, and ordinary citizens who dared to believe that mere farmers and craftsmen could actually rule themselves fairly. But this glory did not come easily. It was forged through fire, plague, betrayal, and the smoking ashes left behind by foreign invasion itself. By the time this story ends, Athens will have quietly reshaped how all of humanity still thinks about freedom, power, and government forever. The brutal Persian Wars had only just ended, and the old temples atop the Acropolis still lay burned and shattered upon the sacred rock itself. Out of that smoking destruction, one ambitious statesman dared to dream far bigger than any Greek city had ever dared to dream before him. His name was Pericles, and he promised the restless citizens something extraordinary, a city at last truly worthy of the gods themselves here. Down in the crowded marketplace below, the Agora buzzed loudly with merchants, philosophers, and citizens arguing endlessly over politics. Here, for the first time in recorded human history, ordinary farmers and craftsmen could actually vote on the very laws that governed them. This radical new idea was called democracy, ruled by the people themselves, and Athens quickly became its beating, chaotic, restless heart. Every free adult citizen could rise and speak in the assembly, their voices carrying loudly across the windswept Pnyx hill above the city. Slaves and women, however, were completely excluded from this system, a harsh reminder that Athens' golden age carried heavy shadows still. High above the winding streets, exhausted workers hauled massive marble blocks slowly up the sacred rock toward an unfinished stone temple. This half-built structure would soon become the Parthenon, a monument so precise that its very stones seemed to defy human hands entirely. Sculptors patiently carved gods, heroes, and battles into friezes that would somehow outlive empires, wars, and countless centuries of neglect. The smell of freshly cut marble mixed with sweet incense drifting up from countless altars honoring Athena, the city's own fierce protector. Below the Acropolis, the narrow, winding streets pulsed with life, potters, weavers, and fishmongers, all shouting loudly over one another still. Barefoot children ran laughing past half-finished columns slowly being raised, unaware they were witnessing living history rise around them. In shaded stone courtyards nearby, restless philosophers gathered daily, questioning everything from justice itself to the very nature of truth. Socrates walked these very same crowded streets, barefoot and endlessly relentless, asking sharp questions that deeply unsettled powerful men. Among his most devoted students was young Plato, whose bold ideas would go on to echo through more than 2,000 years of human thought. Athens was not only a glittering city of ideas, it was also a fearsome naval power that ruled the seas with terrifying, strict discipline. Its swift, narrow warships, the famous triremes, patrolled the wide Aegean Sea, protecting vital trade routes and enforcing strict Athenian will. Enormous wealth poured steadily into the city from allied states, silver that helped fund towering temples, festivals, and a growing fleet. But that very same wealth quietly bred deep resentment, and whispers of open rebellion grew louder among Athens' increasingly uneasy allies. Every 4 years, the entire city erupted into joyful celebration during the grand Panathenaic festival honoring Athena, its patron goddess. A magnificent procession wound slowly through the crowded streets, carrying a newly woven robe destined for the goddess's own ancient statue. Young athletes competed fiercely down in the stadium, chasing a fleeting glory that could echo loudly for generations after their own deaths. At night, The great open-air theatres filled with citizens watching powerful tragedies that explored fate, pride, and deep human suffering. Playwrights like the great Sophocles gave stirring voice to gods and mortals alike, testing what it truly meant to live as a human being at all. Yet beneath all this beauty and brilliance, rising tension with rival Sparta simmered quietly, like a violent storm gathering before it breaks. Sparta deeply feared Athens' growing power and wealth, and two very different visions of Greece stood on a slow, inevitable collision course. In the fateful year 431 BC, brutal war finally erupted, plunging the Golden City into decades of exhausting and seemingly endless conflict. The long Peloponnesian War would test absolutely everything Athens had painstakingly built: its democracy, its wealth, and its very survival. Then came a horror that no ancient city wall could ever stop. A deadly plague swept violently through the crowded streets of Athens itself. Even Pericles himself, the brilliant architect of Athens' golden age, fell to the merciless disease that showed no mercy to greatness at all. Deep grief hung heavy over the Agora, where lively debate once thrived, as grieving citizens quietly buried loved ones without any warning at all. Still, the wounded city somehow endured, slowly rebuilding its spirit even as the brutal war dragged on for years, with no true end in sight. Young soldiers marched solemnly out through the ancient city gates, many of them never again to walk the very streets that had raised them. Despite the crushing hardship all around, artists kept carving stone and playwrights kept writing, as if beauty itself was an act of defiance. This stubborn devotion to art and thought slowly became Athens' own quiet rebellion against the creeping despair of a long, grinding war itself. Eventually, the exhausting war ended in bitter defeat. Athens' once proud fleet destroyed, its great walls torn down by the victorious Spartans. Yet something the conquering Spartans could never truly destroy had already quietly escaped these walls and spread across the ancient world. The ideas born on windswept Pnyx Hill, inside the crowded Agora and beneath the Parthenon's long shadow, simply refused to ever fade away. Democracy, philosophy, theatre and art all carried steadily forward, whispered through centuries, long after the Golden City itself had fallen. Rome would carefully study its laws, scholars would translate its ancient texts, and future revolutions would invoke its name for centuries. If this journey through the golden age of ancient Athens captivated you, then the story of human history has really only just begun here today. Subscribe now and join us as we walk together through lost empires, forgotten disasters, and civilizations swallowed by the passage of time. Tell us down in the comments which ancient city or empire you most want reconstructed and explored together, right here in our very next video. Because history never truly disappears, it simply waits quietly in silent ruins for someone brave enough to bring it back to vivid life again. And in Athens, among the broken marble columns and echoing stone, that ancient voice of democracy still somehow quietly speaks to us today.